What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let's get it. Let's talk some Monday Night Football. We have two games kicking off tonight, and the first game between the Baltimore Ravens, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, spread set at 3.5 in favor of Baltimore. Laying 3.5 at home will be Tampa Bay with a total set at 49.5. Okay, we're going to be talking about that game as well as the later kick between the Chargers and the Cardinals. We have the Cardinals on the road laying 1.5. Total set at 44.5. So let's break down both of these games. I'll give you guys my best bets. I'm not in love with these games, full disclosure, but they are games that we will have plays in. I do have some parlays still open in teaser legs that I do need the Chargers to come home tonight. So these will be games that I'll be all tuned into. We have the World Series set between the Dodgers and Yankees. Money prevails, so there will be no baseball on tonight to distract us. So we will have both of these games on simultaneously, and let's get down into it, okay? But before we do, welcome to the channel. Welcome to TBM. If you haven't done so, please subscribe down below. Also, be sure to follow me on X. The handle is in the bottom left of your screen, and let's get into the picks, okay? So that's what we have going on. We're going to dive into Outlier to talk about these games. You can see right now in the first game between Baltimore and Tampa Bay, a little bit more so of the money spread and the money line is shifted towards the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the handle and total bets. If we look at those betting splits, the total a little bit more money on the over. I do lean towards the over in this spot. Quite frankly, I don't have a strong play in the side. If I was going to play this game, I would lean towards over the 49.5. Okay, but when we talk about primetime overs, you're hitting about 65% at least throughout the course of the season. This has been a tried and true method for me. So I have always been playing primetime unders. A little bit of an over there last night we saw within the Jets and the Steelers game that we had going, where the return of Davante Adams didn't really work out too well for Aaron Rodgers and company, and he banged up his hand along the way. But we're going to be talking about these games, so let's stay on topic. Sometimes I do tend to ramble a little bit, but as I said a little earlier, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 8 out of their last 11 games at home, they have cashed the under, and we do look at the other side of this argument within the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, what kind of game are we going to get? Is it going to be an aired out game, or are we going to just try to ground and pound the Buccaneers and keep that clock running, kind of like that old school Baltimore Ravens team? Not so fast, okay, because I do think that what they found was Zay Flowers. It's working. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but the first game that we're going to talk about in this spot is going to be kind of the over, okay, and that's why I said I do have a lean towards that over. 49.5. I think this is something where this number has bought down a little bit, but we look at the Ravens, okay, and the Buccaneers in the spot. The Ravens are 5-1 to the over. You could talk about the Buccaneers 4-2 to the over. This is where we've been getting a lot of points, and Baker Mayfield's been lighting it up offensively. Okay, and this is another thing where you do have some familiarity within Baker Mayfield and the AFC North Baltimore Ravens that Baker used to head up that Cleveland Browns, that pitful Cleveland Browns offense. Okay, but anyways, this is kind of where you look at this. There's going to be a lot of fantasy opportunities, I think, within yardage. Getting in the end zone is going to be the big question for me, but that's why I do have a lean, and I'm not going to play the overs because I do think things may tighten up a little bit closer to the goal line, and that's where I'm going to lend into some of the prop bets I like. I'm still going to be banging the Derrick Henry rush touchdown. I know it's out of question, out of reach. Don't really care. If you do want to dabble into the 2 touchdown market, fine, fantastic, go for it. We may not get Vita Vea for the Tampa Bay defense, opening up that front 7 where I do think that Derrick Henry's going to have success nonetheless. And then obviously over the top, that game will be opened up by any kind of rushing attack that the Baltimore Ravens have going for them. But the other prop I do like is the Zay Flowers over 59.5 receiving yards. I do lean towards Chris Godwin over his number as well. But this is where you look at kind of another good matchup for Zay Flowers going against this secondary. You do get Bunting on the questionable list for tonight. Maybe not able to suit up, and I do think that Tampa Bay, and this is going to be a big battle for for Tampa Bay to do so, because they like to air out the football. Okay, they like to let it rip, and if they're going to be spinning the ball to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and company, and this is one where Tampa Bay may control this lead. Okay, and Baltimore may not be able to run the football, and then we have to turn to the pass game. It works it's going to work both ways, because you do need to attack Tampa Bay through the air. And the only thing that really worries me about this, and kind of why it's a lean, is Tampa Bay may absolutely get obliterated in this game. Baltimore controls the line of scrimmage. Baker Mayfield can't move the football. They have him down from his time in Cleveland, and you do get a Baltimore game that's a little bit lopsided, where they're just going to ground the rock out and run the clock out. And I just think that's a very high possibility. But that's kind of where I'm at. So I do go Zay Flowers. I'm not going to dabble into the Derrick Henry rushing numbers until we get into the later hours, because of Vita Vea and his status. I want to see that full injury report for the Buccaneers defense, because that does mean a lot to me. Okay, but the touchdowns, those are big ones here for me as well. I do like Baker Mayfield over 1.5 passing touchdowns as well. I can pull up some of these numbers if you want me to, but we're going to just dive into some of the rankings here, because I think it is relevant, okay, as we look into some of these matchups that we have going on. So it's a very, very highly potent Baltimore offense, but I think Tampa Bay's defense is middle of the road. We want to talk about the flip of the script, where we look into how many categories that Baltimore ranks first in. Red zone efficiency, third down conversions, first downs, rushing yards per play. Just absolutely crazy when we talk about Baltimore in terms of their offense this season. Completely revitalized. I just still don't trust Lamar in the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter. But we look at the other end of the argument, and offensively for Tampa Bay, they may not be number one in any category, but offensively, averaging 29.7 points per game. That's good for third in the NFL, and that list goes down and down and down, as they are top 5, top 10 in a lot of offensive metrics, okay? That's absolutely insane. And then you couple that with the fact that Baltimore gives up the least amount of rushing yards on defense. I really think they're going to have to attack them through the air. So, you look at Irving, you look at some of the running backs in that stable for Tampa Bay, pretty much going to be ineffective in my personal opinion. So the other thing is, I don't really look for Cade Otton to have a big game from the tight end spot for Tampa Bay. So I would go under with him. I just think this is something where it's going to be fought on the outside. So Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and obviously receiving the football out of the backfield is going to be key tonight for those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, and that's kind of my breakdown. We look at kind of who's in, who's out. I talked about a little bit earlier. The big question for me with Tampa Bay is if you do get Vita Vea to suit up. From all accounts, I bet he does play, but still, that is one big cog in the heart of that Tampa Bay defense in terms of stopping the run for Baltimore. Okay, next game is one that I do need ever so dearly. That is a Chargers-Cardinals matchup. And when we talk about these two teams, a couple insights I want to put in perspective is the Chargers on the road here are 8 out of their last 11 games, winning on the money line as a favorite. The under has also hit on 8 of their last 10 games on the road. And the Chargers as against the spread as a favorite, 8 out of their last 11. Some notable little nuggets there for the Chargers is, well, Jim Harbaugh's taken the training wheels off of Justin Herbert. We got to see flashes of old school Justin Herbert. So in this game, we might have a little sneaky over here. If you want to talk about it. I think that Kyler Murray, we've seen these games where Arizona just fails to score, and then they end up putting up 3 to 10 points against good defenses, and the other team, of course, gets their way offensively. So when we talk about this Arizona team, it's a great story, Marvin Harrison Jr., but when I really want to look into and handicap the Cardinals, it comes down to a couple key games where it does make sense. And this kind of fits the bill of what the Chargers like to do offensively. Look at the games in specific against the Rams. The Rams where they were able to win 41-10. That's an outlier. But outside of that, teams such as Detroit, Washington, and Green Bay, right, they all kind of play the same style of football. The San Francisco game where they won 24-23, we're just going to discredit that because of the lapse in judgment for San Francisco and Brock Purdy in that spot. San Francisco had that game 10 to 14 points before they relinquished that lead in the fourth quarter. That's just kind of a fluky kind of shit the bed moment for the 49ers, so we're going to discredit that. But basically, what the point I'm trying to make is four out of their 5 games thus far. And it's something where you even look at the Buffalo loss, 34-28. I know that Arizona had that early lead, but it's the style of football that they struggle with, okay? They let Buffalo come back into the game and win the game, but Arizona was up, I think, 28-10 at halftime. So then Buffalo goes on a 24-10, 24-0, basically, a run to close out that game, I believe. But it was just absolutely crazy when you look at it like that, because I think that the way that Cardinals and Kyler Murray play football, it's too much Jekyll and Hyde, but they struggle against teams that can run the football effectively through the middle of the field. And I think that's something where you should get a little bit of a lapse in judgment for Kyler Murray, okay? We do see primetime Kyler Murray happen like that, okay? And this is something where you look at kind of the Cardinals from an injury perspective, right? Most notably, their whole defensive front seems to be out of this game. So I look for a big game for J.K. Dobbins, rushing yards over J.K. Dobbins, touchdown score. Gus Edwards seems to be out of this game, or at least not playing quite to his level of expectation within volume. So I do look for J.K. Dobbins to absolutely have a field day, keeping that clock low. It's the only reason why I don't like the over in this spot. The 44.5 is way too low. I do lean towards the over in both of these games. If these were being played on Sunday, I probably would back them all the same. But because they're in this primetime Monday night slot, the shade of the primetime under does get in my way and clouds my judgment. So these will be leans on the total. But I love J.K. Dobbins over that 72 rushing yards if you can find it still. And also, I'm going to be all over the Chargers money line. I'm not opposed to Chargers minus 2.5, but right now you can find a minus 116 on that money line, so that will be my best bet in this game. Okay, I want to take a look at that J.K. Dobbins thing, show you guys how I use Outlier real quick outside these matchups, because I think they're completely irrelevant. But let's look at some of the player props here. We look into the rushing of the football, where you see J.K. Dobbins rushing yards. Okay. And that's where we're going to find the best number available right now is set at, it depends on what you use, but if you can find, right now it's at 76.5. That is the best number available right there on FanDuel. Love that for JK. Also touchdowns, that's kind of where we're going to get into that market as well, because I do think he gets into the end zone, and I think it's going to be pretty much a lopsided victory for the Chargers. Lower scoring, but that's kind of why it's a fickle kind of matchup. But you look at the Cardinals and what they've allowed on the ground. It's 5 touchdowns to running backs, as well as what we talk about within the 150-plus yards on the ground, in some games even over 200. So I just really think this is a faulty Arizona defense. It's going to play right into the hands of the Chargers. So outside of a couple turnovers or some weird primetime voodoo like we saw last night, where the Steelers just had 3 or 4, I think, was tipped interceptions, I can't remember, that really just took the Jets and deflated their sails. But I think J.K. Dobbins has a big game, and I don't think you need to get complicated with this one. Just lay the money line with the Chargers and trust Jim Harbaugh on the road to get it done as a favorite. Okay, so those are my best bets. Full breakdown, it will be done kind of in this form and fashion for primetime slots. More so, I separate those from the Sunday full card, where I go over each and every game from that 1 and 4 o'clock hour. So hope you guys all enjoyed this video and like my picks. Here is a rundown of kind of what I'll be on for tonight. Kind of keep it simple, stupid, dumb. Let's just cash some tickets and go right to the heart of this this primetime matchups, I should say, where I do like the Chargers game a little bit more so, and I really have an expectation of of that game and feel stronger about it than the Baltimore-Tampa Bay game. Just due to the fact that Tampa Bay is kind of one of those sneaky teams where if you have been a Baltimore backer, you can see Tampa Bay as an underdog. That 75% hit rate cashing tickets is something that keeps me a little bit leery, where I think both of these teams kind of fit the bill of a team that can get it done. So I don't really want to bet against Baltimore either, especially when we do have a motivational spot here, prime time. And there is a little bit, I think, going on with Baker Mayfield where it works both ways, right? A little familiarity with that Baltimore defense and staff, and then you do get, a little revenge kind of thing with Tampa Bay. Because, if you watch any Browns football, Baker sure took his hits in Baltimore, but who knows? I think that's something where injuries kind of plague this game more than backstory, if we're going to be honest. So I do think that injuries for both of these two spots keep these games from being basically hammer plays for me. So we'll see what happens. I will have plays, and I will kind of do same game parlays as always for both of these games that I will be featuring over on the Discord. So if you guys have not followed me on the Discord, make sure you do so. Links down below, and that's where you'll be able to get in touch with me in real time. So appreciate it. Subscribe down below, and good luck with your picks. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.